Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. In behalf of GP World, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you today. And I must tell you first, I really enjoyed Khalaf's words, because he's a very interesting man and he speaks from his heart. I could have not said it better. I'm happy to see new groups of Israeli businessmen visiting our country. It's always a pleasure to see you. I was fortunate enough to visit Israel in 2018 and 19, and I stayed 3 months in 18 and 3 months in 19 for some medical treatment for my daughter. It was an eye-opener for me because in our country, we don't hear good news about Israel. We hear only the problems that the news mention. And so everyone shaped his opinion, not in a favorable way about Israel, but to visit and to see the country and to see the people and to live and to eat and to witness the development. It was an eye-opener for me, and I was really changed my mind. I tell people, if someone hates Israel, invite him to see Israel. Because you cannot explain in words. You have to see people in the country, how they develop their country, how they became what they are. Today we are in a new world. We're going through many changes and many challenges and COVID and many that. And you know, challenges is part of life. If there are no challenges, life will be actually boring. So challenging gives us the drive to do better and to work. Today, it's a great opportunity. The gathering for us today is to explore what we can do together. And I'm very grateful for my brother Samer Baklumi for inviting me to speak again and for their hospitality when I visit them in Tel Aviv. People want to do business with us here. And when you talk about trade, this is the center of trade. And I can tell you, the expectation from the expert, there could be $6.5 billion worth of business between UAE and Israel. This is something we estimated because we're in the business. But I think first, I like to speak about something else. A question that people many times they ask, why Dubai? How come Dubai grew faster than many parts of the world? And I'm not going to compare neighbors. How come Dubai does so well in what they do? And many people attempt that they don't do so well. We have the same geographical location around the world. People have good locations also. And in the Gulf, we're no different than other locations. But it all comes to the leadership. The leadership has a big role in shaping the vision for their people, in giving people passion and hope and guiding them. And especially when we are in a desert. The desert is a very tough place. And what Khalaf tells you in the past, I mean, even people to get water, they have to walk miles every day just to drink water or to bring water to their homes. So when you live in a desert, you become tough. Because if you are not tough, you will not survive. And so UAE has gone through many challenges. And we'll start with the 70s. The 70s, maybe it's better to characterize the development of Dubai till we are what we are today. And when I talk about Dubai, I talk in general about UAE. But Dubai in particular, we really don't have oil or really meaningful oil resource or wealth. Oil was very little and had very limited time. So in the 70s, after our independence, I will characterize that by the period of huge constructions. So it was a big boom because we have to build everything. We have to build roads. The priority was roads, universities, schools, medical facilities, hospitals, infrastructure, airports, and ports. The 80s was characterized of enabling trade. So trade is our bread and butter. That's what we do very well. And so you will notice in UAE, a lot of investment is into empower the trade sector. How? By building better ports. Ports are the gateway for trade, efficient airport, and so on. And so 70s was reconstruction and construction. 80s was enabling trade. Emirates Airline was launched in the 80s. Jebel Free Zone was launched in the 80s. The 90s was the tourism era. And tourism in the 90s, early 90s, we didn't have more than, I think, less than 100,000 tourists a year. Hardly maybe 30 or 40,000. And during that time, Dubai, today, one of the busiest airports in the world. We handle over close to 100 million passengers. And so in the 90s, we handled much less. And Sheikh Mohammed discussed Sheikh Ahmed the need to expand the airport to cope with the increasing number. And Sheikh Ahmed told me that when they did the feasibility, it showed that it's not feasible. And the consultant told Sheikh Ahmed that we can give you a free advice. You really don't need to expand. The increase in number of the airport passengers is due to the fact that the airplanes going to the Far East stop in Dubai just because of refueling. But now there are planes that will be able to fly non-stop from the Far East to Europe and back. So there's no need for Dubai. And that is not strange because when the airline could not cross the Atlantic, they used to stop in Shannon in Ireland. And the minute they could cross the Atlantic without stopping in Shannon, Shannon disappeared. So Sheikh Ahmed told me the story that Sheikh Mohammed told him, you mean they're going to fly over Dubai? He said, yes. He said, well, how can we bring, he did this with his hand, how can we bring them to Dubai? And Sheikh Ahmed said, well, to bring them, you need to do a lot of facilities. Golf courses, hotels, resorts, beaches. It needs a reason. And so he ordered to establish Dubai Tourism Board, Development Board, which Sheikh Ahmed was the chairman, I was a board member, and we hired people to work for a strategy. And the strategy is what kind of tourism we need. And the idea is we don't want to be like Spain with 65 million tourists, but most of them are backpackers. There is no advantage. We need a better quality tourists who will come and invest and spend. And so that was the decision. But anyway, I remember many people didn't believe tourists would come to Dubai. At that time, a few hundred thousands. Today we have 17 million tourists in Dubai. 17 million a year. And we are going, the number goes close to 20 and 25 million. How did we do it? Why? And how? It was not easy. Mr. Khalaf al-Habtour is a businessman who was a contractor. He built a lot of things during the 70s, and he was in the hotels and trade business. But many of the Dubai businessmen were traders. A trader is not an investor. A trader has his money in the bank. He goes and take it and buy something, bring it back and sell it in 3 months. He gets his money back. So to tell a trader, go and invest in a hotel, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't dream of waiting for his money to come back in 7 years or 6 years, if he's lucky. And so, to make tourism viable, the government actually, Sheikh Mohammed invited the businessmen, and they told them, we'll give you a land near the airport, and you can develop it free of charge into resorts for the tourism. But after a while, the traders came back with the conclusion that it took us 50, 60 years to build our business. They want us to put our money in something we never done. We don't want it. So they regretted, and they said, we cannot do this. That is when Sheikh Mohammed decided the government has to build. So Sheikh Mohammed management style, leadership style, is leading by example. So they established hotels like Jumeirah Beach Hotel, Burj Al Arab, Al Qasr, and many hotels. Dubai have to build them because the traders wouldn't. And it's interesting, as the tourism started to grow, many of the traders changed their mind. And they said, oh, we want to build hotel. So in my opinion, it's a miracle Sheikh Mohammed created, because how do you make a trader into an investor? It's very difficult. But by example, now they changed, and many of them invested in many hotels. And so the tourism needed beaches. And I remember he talked to me and said, we need to create beaches for Dubai. That was 97. And he said, maybe you create an island. And since you are in the port, find an architect. So I found an architect, and he did a design, no engineering yet. And I kept it with me. A few months later, he asked me, did you do a design? I said, yes, I have one. We had lunch with him in Jumeirah Beach in about 97, 98. And I showed him, it showed an island, basically, round, with a breakwater, with 7 kilometers. And I thought, maybe if he asked for 14, we can do. But he said, why 7 kilometers? Why not 70? And I told him, Dubai has only 60 kilometers of beach. How do you make 70? Then he said, it doesn't need to be round. We can pull it from the side. So my target to go to 70, we pulled it, and it gave us a shape like the sun with 70 kilometers. He said, I need a road. I said, why? He said, well, people need to go. Nobody will go by boat. So when we made the road, it changed the shape to look like a palm. So we didn't design it a palm in the beginning. It was only an island. And so, to cut the story short, from 97, 98, till 2001, we were working a lot in how the environmental effect is going to be, how the sea erosion is going to be, how the water temperature is going to change because we desalinate. So 3-4 years was enough to do it. The first drop of sand we did in 2001. So I started Palm Jumeirah, Palm Jabal Ali, Deira, the World Island. Within 6 years, I was able to create 850 kilometers of beaches from 62. And shopping centers and apartments and all that as a project. So that was key. Of course, Sheikh Ahmed, as Emirates Airline, did a very good study that many real estate developers adapted and learned of what kind of thing people need to see in Dubai. So the tourism created. 2000 was the year of electronic government. And Sheikh Mohammed wanted people to adapt technology. And remember, he likes to lead by example. And he invited us into a hall in the Jumeirah Beach Hotel, and he announced that we're going to establish the electronic government. I really didn't know what he meant by electronic government, but by the time he finished, he said, anybody dealing with the government, they have to do it electronically, from their computer to the computer of the government. And one journalist asked him, all the government department? He said, yes. He said, what if any government department does not achieve it within the time he specified, he said, well, the head of that government department will make a good farewell party for him and tell him, thank you very much, we'll bring somebody else. And what he did, and I told him, but why would the people, the business use it? He said, if the government does it, they'll have no choice. And he's right. Because the minute the government became electronic, suddenly everybody started to deal electronically. It stops corruption, it is easy, it is fast, and so on. And I remember 2010, he said, now we are not electronic government, we are a smart government. So smart government, you deal and get your all dealing with the government and each other through smartphones. I remember a generalist asked Sheikh Mohammed, he told him, okay, you changed Dubai into this electronic and smart government, but after many years, when you're not anymore in Dubai, you know, after many years, people might say, we don't want this electronic government. He said, you want to tell me that when I am not here anymore, people who used to stand in line to renew their license for 3 to 4 hours and they drive from their home, they will say, well, now we don't want to renew it online, we're going to go and stand in line? Of course not. Okay? And so that helped us to be very, very advanced in using technology. And then 2020 is, I will call it the space age, where UAE have a space program and we are building a space ship with the knowledge to reach Mars. And that is, I think, very interesting. Now, the question is, why Dubai became so important and so prominent? Why we developed faster? Why trade became big? Why whatever we do is good and better? Because we have another choice. And I remember 1982, I joined as a trainee in the port. Sheikh Mohammed was talking to people and told them, we have very little oil that will finish in less than 20 years. We need to diversify. And I really couldn't figure out, what do you diversify? You have no oil, you have no agriculture, you have nothing. So what do you diversify? He said, we need to diversify. At that time, oil, very little, was about 80% of Dubai income. Today, it's less than 2% in our income. So, again, the vision and the leadership is to develop and continue to develop and not stop. So, as an example, in '79, Dubai built Jebel Ali, a $2.5 billion port and free zone complex. '79 is a year where Iran and Iraq decided to have a war, and nobody consulted us or gave us even an idea. Wait a minute, don't invest because we're going to have a war. War just happened. And when the war happened, it was a shock to all the Gulf countries, because we heard about war, but it was never in our area. Now this is in our neighborhood. It made the area more difficult and unstable. It made the area dangerous. And many countries in the Gulf have actually canceled many development projects because they say now it's a war risk. We will wait until the war ends, and then we will build. Not in Dubai. We established Emirates Airline, we established Jaffa Free Zone. So whatever happened around the region really didn't bother us. We said we have a mission, we have a plan. Sheikh Mohammed said we have to finish our plan. Whatever happened around us is nothing to do with us. And I remember in '87, it was the heat of the tanker war. And I remember I was marketing the free zone in Japan. And one of the companies, after I told them how good Dubai, just like Khalaf telling them, it's a jewel, it's nice and safe. They told me, show me a map. They said, in this map, it's all the Gulf, and they have these red dots. They said, these are the places where tankers were hit, you know? And they're right. So when I went to Sheikh Mohammed, he said, there is a war risk insurance, of course, so that means anything that comes from the Mediterranean into the Gulf, the insurance premium for war risk increases. So in 87, Sheikh Mohammed met with us and said, we have to find a solution. And his solution is, we will self-insure all the vessels and ships that are coming to Dubai. So we decided, there is a coordinate in the Red Sea that will, the shipping line will follow until Dubai. Anybody hit there, we will be responsible. And we went to Lloyd and put 100 or 100 something $1 million, and so we are responsible. And nobody could dream, why would I be responsible? And actually, a lot of business came to us. In 1990, some crazy thing happened. Saddam decided to attack Kuwait and occupy Kuwait, and said, oh, by the way, that's the first one, I'm going to continue. And if everything stopped, and everybody was scared. And again, everybody stopped their budget and canceled it, because this is a real danger. Nothing with us. We started to invest in tourism and develop and invest more. In 95, that was the Far East crisis, where the barrel of oil went to $10. But that crisis, financial crisis, only for the Far East, but it impacted us. Again, many countries, because of the low price of oil, they have to cancel projects. We didn't. Oil doesn't play a role, and we don't care. And we continued building when everybody is worried about the war, about the Far East crisis. September 11 was really a very, very big thing. Airlines stopped flying, and we had, I remember, in November was an air show. Every year we make this air show. And Sheikh Mohammed was advised to cancel it because airplane not flying anyway, and nobody will come. And Sheikh Mohammed said, no, they will come. And we held the air show, and Emirates Airline bought airplanes and engine for $35 billion. The largest single purchase of airplanes and engine in the history of aviation was done in Dubai. Because many airlines canceled their order. It was an opportunity. Remember, Sheikh Mohammed looks at a crisis as a temporary thing. An opportunity is there. We bought planes and engines for half of what we would pay them in the normal time. And that helped them airline. In 2008, the financial crisis, which was like cancer in the financial institution around the world, spread everywhere. And everybody actually predicted Dubai will fall because Dubai is over leveraged, Dubai has debts, and so on. And I remember we just established DP World 3 years ago, and I told Sheikh Mohammed, as a company, we still have cash, we have planned to invest a few billions, but if the government need the money, because of the crisis, then we will be willing to not to invest. He told me, no, government doesn't need you. You have a board, you have a plan, you continue with your plan. We will deal with our issues. And while the journalists and the newspaper are talking about Dubai going to have a problem paying their debts, Dubai actually made a deal with the central bank to bail out Dubai World, which I was the chairman of, to not DP World, but Dubai World, which basically owned a lot of real estate, investment, the Palm and everything, with $20 billion so that they will be able to live with their financial commitments. At the same time, Dubai government borrowed $100 billion to expand the business. They built the metro, they expanded Dubai, they built roads and network so that Dubai can cope with the congestion when people talk about crisis. And in my opinion, that helped us to get out because the government put money in the banks, in infrastructure projects, and Dubai came out of it. 2016, Sheikh Mohammed said, for the next 10 years, we're going to put $100 billion for the Expo and for many, many projects. So the commitment of the government, with very little they have, is what made Dubai work. When everybody is worried about what's happening, we don't worry. A lot of countries, unfortunately, their business decision planning, future, destiny lies in an article written somewhere about us. But who knows about us more than ourselves? And success breeds success. And Sheikh Mohammed says, when you have a crisis, you come with amazing ideas and amazing energy to resolve. He said, if you are sitting in a cafe having coffee and you have your son, and suddenly he runs to cross the road, you run so fast to stop him, because if you fail to stop him, he will be killed by a car. Now, if somebody tell you, can you do that speed of running again? We'll give you $1 million. You can't. Because the adrenaline that you got, you needed it. So he said, it's like us. When we have passion for something, we have to have the energy and the determination. And when you are in a crisis, somebody put you in a corner. Always, you make the best decision in your life when you have a crisis, when there is no other choice. You come up with the new ideas. Okay. And so, today, Dubai is the 5th city in infrastructure, in the best infrastructure in the world, Dubai. Okay. Dubai is the 10th or number 10 in the best 10 countries or cities to do business. Infrastructure is one of the best in the world. Dubai has an advantage logistically for Israel as a market. So what do we need from Israel? As businessmen, we need the technology, because we are so advanced in technology. Nobody can ignore the development and the advanced technologies in Israel. Every smart equipment in the world today has a component made in Israel. Israel made a great contribution in development of many technologies. That's something we need. What do the Israelis need? They need the market, the connectivity, the logistic location of Dubai. And UAE. When I speak about Dubai, I mean UAE. From Dubai, 3 hours of flight take you to 2 billion people. So when people talk about China over 1 billion, you have 2 billion. Dubai to Mumbai. India is 1.2 billion, 1.3. Is 2 hours or less than 2 hours. Mumbai to Delhi is 2.5 hours. So Dubai closer and more flight from Dubai to Mumbai. When you look at the Indian subcontinent, 1.5 billion. When you add East Africa, when you add CIS countries, you have over 2 billion people. If you want to fly to any of these markets, you have not one, you have many flights per day. If you want to ship something, you can ship something not once a week, but several times every day. So what Dubai did is a dream of the logistic people. We have Jebel Ali Port that's connected to Al Maktoum. It is only an hour or less from the time the container comes to the port until it's an air container. It's the fastest highway of cargo. So it's a big market for Israelis that they can take advantage and use. And I give you an example. For example, we never ignored the logistical advantage of Israel. We are aware of it. But Israel location wasn't available for us. We had no dealing with Israel. But now that we do, just example, Haifa to Baghdad is 900 kilometers by road. Basra, which is the main city in Iraq, is 600 kilometers from Baghdad. Okay? To send something by sea, it will be 7,700 kilometers from the Mediterranean all the way to Baghdad. So there is an advantage for us. DP World, we are a company that we are in over 50 countries, or over 60 countries. We have 85 terminals around the world. We have a lot of ports in Europe. And in the last few years, we invested close to $6 billion in logistical ability. That is logistical parks, solutions, systems. So today, we are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, logistic operator in India. And we are the largest operator in India in ports. We're the largest operator in Canada. We are one of the largest in Peru, and one of the largest in Chile, and the largest in Australia. And one of the businesses we want to do is not just stay as a port, but help to make the supply chain more efficient. So for the supply chain is very interesting for us. So we can link our port in Europe, and depending on how fast people need the cargo to go, we can use Haifa or Ashdod and continue to Baghdad, and then to neighbors. We will also use Eilat, because Eilat as an airport has interesting opportunities. We are also working on the concept called South-South, or the Dubai Silk Route. So air cargo, for example, goes from the Far East to Europe. From Europe, they go to Africa and South America, which is strange. You're going like a triangle. The straight line actually is Far East Dubai, Ethiopia, Far East Eilat, Far East Jeddah, and a few locations in Ethiopia, Ghana, wherever, Rwanda, and then Latin America. And we started this, we call it the World Logistic Park Expert. We are promoting it, and many companies are signing, and we even wrote to the Israeli Transport Ministry to sign with us. So basically, it's a great opportunity. And Mr. Khalaf has mentioned some advice to many Israeli companies, and I will tell you, I'll give an advice. Dubai is business-minded people, ready to do business. But my advice to Israeli companies is you have to match. If you have a business opportunity, before you talk to any company, look at who is doing the same business. You cannot talk to me as a port to convince me to do an agriculture project. It's not my business. I will be happily listening, but I can't benefit. So find somebody who is in the same business. Study them. Do your homework. So when you meet them, you'll be able to achieve some result. Very important. And even though we are advanced in technology, people are not familiar with startups. And sometimes people get disappointed from Israel when they said, oh, we have this amazing technology. It's not much. Maybe $7 million, maybe 100,000. For Dubai trader, doesn't matter. Could be $10,000, could be 100,000, could be 100 million. The main thing is, show me a business that makes money, and there's a return, and I'll come with you. They will be able to do it. But you have to be selective. Don't waste your time to go to everybody of something that of no interest. Okay? If you have a startup, Mubadala is good. Adia in Abu Dhabi is good. These are the big fund. Try to find a fund. There are funds today who invest. They are the best people for technology, because they might have a technology fund, they might have something fun. But don't waste your time to go to a trader and tell him I want to do this. A traders, you'll do very well. You can market your products amazingly. The Israeli fruits actually came to Dubai, and they are not anymore there. So people want that. So we wish you all the success. We will support you, and we'll work with you, and we are very excited about the business opportunities, and I'm very honored to be with you here today. I'll be all day with the summer. I promise that I'm going to cancel all my meetings, so I'm going to stay here. Thank you very much.